Welcome, everybody, to Drama to Dharma. Thank you for joining us this evening. And I'm looking down in the green room, and I have Renee Popovitz. Hi, Renee. I see you fixing your hair. I see Jody fixing his hair. I see Jim. I see Jerry. I see Kate. I see Chris. I see Deb. Thank you all for being here. And we just sent the link out right now. We had the wrong link, so I apologize. You all just came in, but just please ask me any questions. Drama to Dharma, if this is the first time that you're joining us, we are, my name is Josie Herndon, and I work very closely with the Archangels, and I'm writing a book with Archangel Gabriel, so I do share messages from Gabriel. I allow Gabriel to speak through me. And he says that, yep, I do. That's a good word. We do this together as a team, basically. And I say yes to the angels, and I follow their lead. So this morning, I hadn't got ready for the show until this morning, and I asked the angels. I said, well, what should our topic be? Because I usually plan a few days in advance, and I have a guest sometimes. And they were very clear with me that the topic today would be prayer, meditation, and conscious connection. So it's all about connecting to source. And that's what the topic will be tonight. But before we get there, I just want to explain the format of the show, basically. Drama to Dharma is meaning drama is here on earth, us, what we do every day, what I do every day. So Josie is drama, and Gabriel is dharma, basically, in our little relationship. So he's the dharma that I connect to, and God. And so it's all of them. He says it's not just Gabriel; it's their we. They're all I am. They are all on the other side. The light energy, the heavenly divine, Mother Mary. The saints, the prophets, all of the ancestors. There's a whole non-physical realm, basically, of beautiful beings. And I have my entire life connected with the light beings. And sometimes, Gabriel says there's really no light or dark. It's just this energy that we flow through. So I try to connect with the light as much as possible, the highest vibration. But as a human, we all kind of can go back and forth depending on the day. We can have a high vibration day. We can have a lower vibration day. So if we're feeling depressed, or our body is aching, we're feeling sick or angry, that's okay too. But we may not be exactly where we want to be at that moment. So then we can try to just maybe emotionally bring some positivity into our life to bring up the vibration. So we do talk about that. We talk about law of attraction also. That's very important. It is definitely a law of the universe that I learned 20 years ago. And that helped me to, law of attraction wise, get to where I am today as far as my spiritual path, because I would ask questions, and I would seek the answers, and then I would have a beautiful teacher that would, I call them teachers in my life, other humans. We're all teachers to each other. Basically, we're teachers for each other. So I would have other people in my life that would come in and be my teacher. And it could be a teacher as far as I've had business partners where maybe it didn't work out, or relationships that didn't work out. Those were my best teachers. So it doesn't necessarily mean somebody that's, the most positive teacher. It could just be if there's a situation in your life where you're saying, oh my goodness, that guy's a jerk, or my ex-husband, or my, whatever, son-in-law I can't stand, whatever, people that we don't get along with. We can try to look at them as our teachers as well, because we are all mirrors to each other. So these are the messages that I try to share, and how, we're living in this world right now always, but this particularly if we're watching the news. For me, I get stressed watching the news, especially it's a political year. I think every political year gets a little heated, but in the middle of a pandemic, I think it definitely gets worrisome. So when the topic I think came up as well because my kids, my daughter had asked my husband, he's for those of you who join me every week, you know, he is just finished his cancer treatment and he's healing from his cancer. And that's been a difficult journey. So we're going through this new journey of illness and cancer with my husband and other loved ones that we have in our life and colleagues. So it's been quite a experience. And my daughter Chelsea asked him, Jim, are you praying? Because he's been very angry. Of course he's been angry. You know, there's been a lot of anger and confusion and of course love, but that's just part of the emotional journey that we're going through. And he said, no, as a matter of fact, I don't think I've prayed in 2 months. And so I guess I didn't realize, but I guess I was just kind of shocked, like, wow, you know, and then I thought about it myself and I thought, you know, I feel like I'm in constant prayer because I'm in constant like communication with God and Gabriel. And I'm just kind of always talking to myself. No. So I just, you know, I feel that I do, you know, and so Gabriel was this morning, that's why the topic he said is important, because prayer is one thing when, you know, and sometimes we think of prayer. I know I do, growing up, very strict religions, Catholic and Seventh-day Adventist, very strict religions. And of course, right now I'm more on the spiritual side, even though they're all spiritual. But I grew up praying every day, 3-4 times a day. When I woke up, on my hands and knees prayer, right? And in school I prayed and we prayed and when we were at church, I mean, it was just prayer all day long. So that was how I thought prayer was for a long time. But I didn't feel I felt like I was praying and that was great, but I never like had a reciprocal. I didn't feel, I knew God was there and listening, but I didn't really. So then the way Gabriel explained to me is that so there's prayer, and that's when we're talking to God and asking questions and spilling our guts out and saying, Lord, I love you. Lord, help me, you know, especially when we're ill. Yes, when you think about it, oh, I should pray. And then there's meditation, where that's when they say when we quiet our mind and we listen to God's answers. So the prayer is talking to God for us to talk and ask. He's listening. And the meditation time, when we can silence ourselves and our thoughts through meditation, is when we listen to God. So that's when he's speaking to us. And Gabriel explained this to me early on, and we wrote about it in the book, The Difference Between Prayer and Meditation. That was a big question for me, because as a very conservative Christian, in the beginning I thought, well, meditation's not prayer, so that might be, if it's not prayer, what is it? You know, I didn't know. What is meditation if it's not prayer, or is it prayer? I was very confused. So that's where he explained, you know, when we silence, we can listen to God, to our angels, we can hear, you know, even if we don't hear anything, but the silence will give us that awareness of what the answer should be, almost like going through a beautiful labyrinth. So that's the meditation part. And then tonight he wanted to take it to another level, and that's the conscious connection. So there's the prayer, the meditation, and the higher conscious connection, right? So that's when, and usually you can get to this after you've been in meditation, and you can get to that meditative and quiet your mind, when you can consciously connect all day, like what I do or try to do. And where you're just thinking about it and you're manifesting things, and we've all had this happen when we're flowing through and we feel like we're totally connected. We're like chimed in, right? We get that perfect parking. You know, things just flow. You know, and it's effortless. You're looking for a house and you get it, the one you want. And even though you've been hitting walls or a certain car, whatever it is, it doesn't even have to be a material thing. It could be when you're walking on a hike and you feel like the nature is speaking to you. And you can just feel the energy of nature. And you can, if you're in a forest, you can just almost hear the little fairies. One day I was in a forest up in Central Coast and Asilomar, and I was rushing. I was at a conference and I'm running through the forest to get to my room, and I felt like I heard these little you're gonna step on me, these little fairies. And I'm like, well, then move out of my way. So, you're just like totally connected. And it was a spiritual retreat. So I was like all over connecting, right? So, that's that conscious connection where we are already connected. Because some people say, well, I don't pray and I don't meditate. You are probably always connected because you feel something, especially if you're a person who just does that right thing all the time. You're mindful, you're kind, you're loving, you do things without saying it. You'll open the door for a stranger, you'll smile at somebody, you'll make somebody's day without even saying it, without anything. You just do it, you just are. That's being consciously connected. So there's no word for it. There's no, oh, well, I did this because I was supposed to, and I'm going to have to go to, to church, so I know I better be good today. Thank God when church is over, I can start my new week and then, start, shaping up. No, that's not necessarily consciously being connected. That's like planning, your your connection that's may or may not be real. So, consciously being connected is when you are there in constant prayer. You're constantly just feeling connected to your higher source. So he wanted to talk about that tonight, because during these times of, as they're saying, unrest, these times of unrest, to put it lightly, in our world, we can easily get angry, and that's okay. We're humans, of course. We're going to feel it. We're going to feel the vibration of everything that's going around us, right? So as humans, we're going to feel that vibration of anger, of fear, of sadness, grief, all the stuff that's happening, that's boiling to the top right now. So he's saying it's important to just bless and release and consciously, in your awareness, basically, feel the love, feel the connection, ask for the connection. You can even say something like, I don't really have time to pray right now, but I want to feel connected, God. I want to feel connected, Gabriel. I want to feel connected, angels. I want to feel connected, whoever it is that you are connected to on the other side, your favorite saint, your mother, who's on the other side, who's your angel, your father on the other side, who's your angel. I want to feel connected today. Guide me. I'm just going to say yes to you, God. I'm going to say yes to you, light, and guide me. You're consciously connected. When you don't ask the questions, when you allow them to do 70, 90% of the work for you, is what they tell me to do. Say, Josie, I'll do 90% of the work today if you just let us. Okay. And when I try that, it works. 70%, whatever you want to give to them. And then watch them do that work for you. So if there's a project that you're working really hard on and you can't get past it, you just can't break through, give it to them and say, here, do this for me today. Let's see what happens. Let it go. Do something else. And then you're going to watch, because you're really letting go at that point and you're allowing them to do it. You're giving them permission. That's being consciously connected. So it's a trio. So there's the prayer when you feel up to it. Again, that's prayer for food when you're teaching your children, or just in your own, thoughts. Bless this food as I eat it. Whatever you do for blessing your food, wherever, your prayer comfort zone is. You don't have a prayer comfort zone? Fine. Go on to meditation if you feel comfortable with meditation. Okay? Because then you're just receiving the information. You're receiving the information. You're allowing it to come through because they're there wanting to speak to you already. And you don't want to have any expectations about what's going to happen. You just know that it's going to be for the highest good. That's your meditation time. That's what Gabriel's saying. You're connected, consciously connected. That's the fun time. That's when we're out and about. That's when we're watching television. We're not meditating. We're not praying because we don't have time. We've got to run to the grocery store. And now it's even more. Everything is more, right? You go to the grocery store. We have to put on our masks, of course, social distance, take our hand sanitizer, our gloves, just like we're ready. We're going to go to the grocery store, right? We're not going to touch anybody. We're not going to talk to anybody. It's almost like after 9/11 going right, through the airport, that hypervigilance. So that's what it is sometimes to go to the grocery store. So Gabriel's saying, when you're doing that, before you go into the grocery store, asked for that divine conscious connection. Last week, he was saying because of the masks and we're covering our face with everything, that we're not connecting as humans. And that's where a lot of the fear and anger comes from, because we're used to connecting, we're used to hugging, we're used to touching, we're used to fighting. You know, even kids that fight on the street, that's touch for them. Or, you know, domestic violence, sometimes he's saying relationships, that's their touch sometimes. But whatever it is, humans have to touch each other in order to feel connected to each other. And right now, there's very little connection. And with the masks, you know, all we see are the eyes. So last week he was saying eye contact with everybody that you can when you're in the store. Just give them that eye contact so that they feel heard and seen, and then say a nice word to them. So when you're consciously connected, you'll flow through that grocery store with everything that we need to do to protect ourselves. But we're also, and to keep the law and everything we need to do, social distance, you know, all the rules. But in the meanwhile, we can still be very kind to each other. That's consciously being connected, and connect with each other with our eyes and with whatever words. If you pass somebody up, if you can, you know, say a nice word. I'll never forget this little girl when this first happened. This little girl, she's probably about 11 years old, and I was nervous. Everybody was nervous in the store. And she said, you know, I've been telling everybody to get the plastic bags from the produce department and put them on your hands if you feel nervous. And just put them on your hands, and then you don't have to worry about gloves. And that was the sweetest thing. And she told that to me just randomly. And she was telling people that, older people. She was like 11. She was like this little angel, you know, that was just saying to everybody that looked scared, you know, you might want to just put these plastic things on your hands and you'll probably feel better. So, you know, you can, if you feel that there's something kind that you can say to somebody, you know, do it, because we're not really thinking about being kind at the store right now. We're thinking about getting in and getting out, right? And I know that before all of this, and I would even tell my husband, before all of the pandemic, I mean, men would literally like try to hit on me in line. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I freaking have groceries full of my basket's full of groceries. And you're like, asking me, oh, well, what do you have in your basket? You know, I mean, I never even thought it was a thing, you know? And so people actually would connect at the grocery store, apparently. So, you know, it is really the only place we have right now, and other little stores, whatever it is that we can do. So what the angels are saying, while we're out there and eating outside, whatever it is that's different in our life, and we're getting used to this right now, let's try to connect consciously with each other as much as possible, so that when we go home, we'll feel better. We'll feel like we connected, especially if you live alone. If you live alone and you're single, so you're home alone right now during these times even more. So you count on maybe at Starbucks, you know, going to TJ Maxx and talking to whoever. You know, I had an employee who I love. You know, he loved Costco. Oh my word, Celine, that was his favorite thing to do. Costco. He talked about it all the time. He would eat the hot dog, sit there, talk. You know, and so I'm not doing that now, but we should be. Okay, Denise is asking, is the world praying more now with COVID? Very good question, Denise. Gabriel says, yes, they are. That's the one thing that he's been saying is right now, because I think this was a question that I was talking about earlier, is that people are asking more of the angels. So they're connecting more with Gabriel, saying with them, these messages that I give and others give are very important, because it's confirmation of what they're already praying for. So they're asking questions of them right now, such as, what do I do? Am I going to be healthy? What's going on in the world? They're asking questions. So yes, humans, he's saying, are praying more, and that's beautiful. But he wants to make sure that they're able to hear the answers. And that would be through meditation, through consciously being connected, he's saying, so that he can, they are talking to the, you know, to us all the time, especially if we're asking questions. So they just want us to hear that and say, thank you for that, you know. And tonight in the show, hopefully this is going to help somebody that has a question, possibly, and whatever Gabriel's, saying through me will answer that question for you. And that's why I do this show is interactive. I want questions. So if they come up, Debbie will put them up on the screen where I can read them. And then, that'll be our conversation. So Carly Howard is saying, what does Gabriel say about letting go of our concerns for a person we deeply love? We allow the peace and connectedness to God to calm the mind and truly allow God's word and guidance in. Absolutely. So what Gabriel says about letting go, about the concerns, is that with somebody that you love and you're very concerned about, there's nothing you can do but be there to listen to them and pray for them, because maybe there's something going on in their life that is either a dangerous situation, or they're sick and they want your help, but you can't get to them right now because you have to stay home because of your health or your family's health. We all have to stay home. People are getting to be in more and more crisis, so they might call you and say, I need you over here now. 3 or 4 months ago, 6 months ago, we would have been, I'm there right now. Of course, if you're in this situation, I'm there. I will help you. But right now, it's like, I can't really help you. I can't, like Jim being sick, we haven't had any family visit him at all. But we know that they love him, but they can't come because of the COVID. They can't fly down, they can't drive over. So nobody has been around. It's been an interesting situation. But when they call and check in or text and just, even sending a little card. So for that person that you love and that, there's not anything you can do for them right now that you would normally do 6 months ago, drive, fly out there, whatever. You can still do stuff for them, little things if you want to. There's Uber Eats. You can send them something, a meal. And that, if you're not sure they're eating, we've had friends that have sent us food. Denise has sent it. We've had dear friends who have sent us, like a meal, Italian food. And that's great. Then I don't have to cook and Jim doesn't have to worry about eating, whatever. So if you know somebody's going through a hard time and you can't be there for them like you normally would, there are still other ways to do it. If you don't, you can. It's hard to call and text all the time, but just check in with them. I mean, the worst question for me has been, how are you doing? I still don't even know how to answer that. You could just say, well, I'm in the middle. We're in the middle of this. I'm here. I'm alive. So, let's see. Carly is saying, my heart is broken for our friend Rosemary. Can we ask the Lord to send a guardian angel to watch over Rosemary and Kenny? I am deeply saddened that we can't be there to help her in Mexico. And yes, see, Rosemary is a dear friend. We're like the Four Musketeers. It's for over 20 years. It's myself, Rosemary, Carly, and Wendy. And we've all been there. When Rosemary had cancer, before, somebody's sick, we go there. We just go there and help. Right now we can't. We haven't seen each other. She's sick in Mexico. She can't get back. She's stuck there, and her husband's sick. They retired in Mexico, and now they're like sick in Mexico. Not with COVID, but just different things. And she can't come here. And there's, so we've been working all week on that, but it pretty much is that they're going to stay there is what's going to happen. So we can pray for her. That the prayer is so important to just be, he says, be specific. A lot of people say don't be specific, but he says it's okay to be specific. Say, Rosemary, we're, Heavenly Father, I'm praying right now for the health and wellness and the healing of Rosemary and the clarity of her mind, and Kenny's healing of his injury. He broke his neck and he can't move. They can't even move him. And it has to fuse itself. So he can't move. Healing for him, and claim it. And for me right now, I'd like to pray for Carly because she's so torn about this. So, if we can pray for Carly and Carly, your compassion and your love, and so that you will take care of yourself now, knowing that you have done everything. And that's all we can do. Right now, everything is as it should be, because what he's saying is God is everything or God is nothing. So if we continue to try to fight a situation to try to get on a plane and go, and it's not meant to be, again, That's God is speaking to all of us. So they went there to retire. They've got a beautiful home on the beach. Maybe that's where they want to do their healing. So if they were here, they'd be saying, I wish I was at my home on the beach in Cabo. That's where I want to heal. I want to heal looking at the beach. I want to look, So we don't know how people are really feeling where they are, because we think it's best that they're here with us. They may think it's best that they're there with where they are. We're all exactly where we should be right now. We're not flying around necessarily. So, yes, the angels and God have heard our prayers for Rosemary and Kenny, and they're going to heal, and they're going to do this in their time and in their fashion, because they've always lived their life exactly the way they wanted to. I mean, really, I told my kids, if I decide to go retire, in another country, don't let me. Like, do not let me. I can go on vacation for a month, but don't let me move there. And, all these things when I'm, no. So, but that's what they wanted to do. It took a lot of courage. They moved everything, went down there. That's where they're at. We just keep them in prayer. So instead of feeling heartbroken over them, let's just feel our heart full for them, Carly, and see them in God's light and see them as well, because that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to see each other as well, not see each other as ill. And then we can help the healing begin when we see each other in through the eyes of God. That's part of the conscious connection, knowing that God has everything right now for our friends and loved ones. Because we all have things going on in our lives, right? We all do. And that's okay. It's okay to take care of ourselves, everybody. It's okay for us to take care of us and pray for each other and meditate for the answers and live a consciously connected existence, right? That's all the things wrapped in one is when we can do that. And believe me, I'm not there all the time. At all. It's especially how we're in the desert where it's like over 110. It's like, oh, where do you get it? So, but then I remember and I'm like, okay, I'm as kind as I can be, and I try. But I mean, there are times when I've got that mask on, I'm in and out myself, and not understanding why somebody's not 6 feet away from me. It's like, really? It's like, how dare you not stand on that red X? They're like, somebody's not standing on the red X. I'm like, why are you out with that red X? So, I think we all do that. I don't know. Or I'm the only one. Let's see. Renee, I'm looking here. Renee is saying, it feels to me like people are more disconnected because of the restrictions on the religious services. It feels like an intentional disruption into spiritual practices and religious freedoms in an effort to further weaken the human spirit. Don't let it. Find your strength. Listen to God. Everything you need is right inside of you, and no government can control that. And thank you, Renee. That's exactly right, because for a long time, I was kind of torn between religion and spirituality. What's the difference? So right now, basically, we have to look within ourselves and look straight to God, right? Because the churches are getting pretty much cleaned right now. I went to a mission over the weekend, and I wanted to get something blessed, and there were no priests anywhere. I'm like, where are the priests? There's no mass going on. I know they live here. Where are they? Can somebody come and and bless some of these little things I'm buying from their store? And that's what I told the lady. I'm like, where are they? They're supposed to be here. And that she's like, come back in 5 hours and we'll have them all blessed. Okay. So again, I just gave it to God, decided to do something else. I was going to head home, and then it ended up being a beautiful situation. But I was at first a little irritated because I was thinking, well, they're not even doing anything, they're getting paid to like do 3-4 masses a day and they live here. I mean, I just like all these things went on in my head about the priests, and their job description. I'm a CEO. So the churches are getting cleaned right now too. They're resting. They're dusting. They're putting new floors in, new kitchens. I mean, they haven't had, you know, facelifts in a while. Some of them years, hundreds of years. And some of them are doing outdoor services. This one is doing an outdoor service, you know, because they have grounds, so they can figure it out on Sunday to do 2 masses, you know, morning. And so there are some churches out there doing services now outdoors. They're doing them online. But if that doesn't work for you and you have to be home and you can connect, you know, just do, you know, pray, get the answers from God. I got the answers from God my whole life because I was confused about the different messages I was getting. So I asked, I was seeking, and I got the answers. So seek and ask and you'll get the answers. So right now it's kind of time to have church with ourselves and with God. You know, I this was like a bunch of glasses, and so this is like really a little wet bar behind me. I turned it into my altar. I turned it into my altar because I do my own little church here myself, you know, and I just kind of I kind of did that with my home. I kind of, you know, made little sacred spots for my home, and when I was busy and in and out, I didn't do any of that. I just had dust everywhere. So right now, like Renee said, you know, we can just look, find our strength, and listen to God directly. That's what they want. That's they're waiting for that. So we're actually not looking at somebody else for the answers, another human. We're looking at God for the answers. That's where I got my answers divinely. You know, even when I would read then what I needed to hear that day, you know, what settled with me. So we can divinely have our connection with God. And then when church is open, we kind of go there just like in a healthy relationship, right? Where you're with somebody because you want to be and you're having fun, not because you feel like you're obligated and then you fall asleep. How many people, you know? So, you know, when you go to church, when the church is open, you're saying, you know, we'll be singing and having a great time. We're going to be, you know, talking to each other like we've never before enjoyed each other's company, because we're going to have that spirit within us already. We're not going there to look for the spirit. We're taking the spirit to the church. We're going to take it for those of us who go to church or go to temple, you know, go to synagogue. We're going to take the spirit in there and fill it rather than trying to pull it from there, rather than looking outside for something, even though it's great to do that too, because it's very comforting. But you know, the pastors and the priests, they might be tired too. And this is all new for them. They didn't get a memo from God this was happening. I mean, I've talked to so many, you know, intuitive people, and I'm like, did you get the memo that this pandemic was going to happen? I mean, nobody, you know, it was just like, okay, what they're saying is that everything we've been doing our whole life for our spiritual path is for today. So whatever practices, whatever we've learned in our life, it's for today, right? For today, so that we can bring all that forward. They're not going to tell us what's going to happen, and then we're going to, no, we wouldn't have even been able to make it up. If they would have, they're saying, Gabriel's saying, if he would have said, this is going to happen, we would have never believed it. I would have been like, okay, sure. However, you're thinking probably something like, well, what about the future? You know, are things going to get worse? Are things going to keep getting worse? Maybe. But if we stay within what we just talked about and with ourselves, it's not going to get worse, because we're going to keep growing. We're going to keep elevating, right? We always will. There's always things that are going to be, depending on where you are in your world. Some people have been going through traumatic things every day for years. But for those of us that haven't, this is very traumatic. It's traumatic for everybody, but I'm saying there are people that have lived in situations, you know, for years. And perhaps this pandemic has made it to where they don't have to live in that situation anymore, you know. So we don't know how this has totally affected everybody, but we can just know how it affects us and how we can bring light to each other, and know that someday we will go to church. But I definitely understand what Renee is saying, because I've thought that myself. Like, are people really feeling lost and disconnected because they count on their pastors? They count on seeing each other at church? Yes. So if you're feeling that way, know that it's going to happen again. You're going to reconnect, but you're going to reconnect in a different way. You're going to bring the spirit to the church rather than trying to get something from it. That's a beautiful way to think about it. Although, you know, you can say, well, yes, I've always brought the spirit to the church. That's true. But right now, The churches they're resting, I guess. They're just right now, we just can't be inside of them. So there's going to be ways that they're going to figure out how to do it outside church services. Gatherings, I guess. Gabriel's saying gatherings, any kind of gatherings. Yoga is going to be out in the park. Tai Chi out in the park. I mean, people are going to figure this out. How are we going to live outside? Okay, we're going to start seeing hairdressers outside. We're going to start seeing nail things outside. I mean, I will, if I find a nail place outside, I'll be there. So I don't care if it's, so we're going to figure it out. Everybody's going to start being outside. That's not going to be a terribly bad thing, especially if you live in a place where it's beautiful outside. Okay, so we're just going to that's what we're going to have to do for a little while. And it's okay. Let's see. Carly is saying, many churches, include mine, have grown exponentially with online services. I am hoping the new church members will continue to view and attend church because they learn to love the connectedness to our Lord. That's true. A lot of online connections, like even conferences. I've been talking to friends because I do conferences. They're doing these online conferences, some of them, and churches, and they get people from all over the world. Right now, I don't know who's watching me, but perhaps, I decided to start this during this COVID when I was really shy before about doing anything about my messages. But the angels are like, it's time. Okay, it's time. That's what they told me. I heard it. It's time. So right now it's time. People are figuring it out, and if they never left their house or didn't feel comfortable going to church, they're finding it online and finding connections online. Yeah, that's great. And then when everybody can go to church again or go see each other, they're going to be, I'm connecting with a group of women that are all over that are national, and we were supposed to get together at a conference, but we decided to do a Zoom. And now we've been doing them first every 2 weeks and now every month. We were planning, when all this is over, we're like going to be best friends. We had not even met each other. We were supposed to meet at this conference. And now we're looking forward to, we can't wait to see each other. So yes, we're making different connections for sure. Although being, in person is definitely a blessing as well when we can connect. I was with friends the last couple of days with Denise and Kate, and we went outside to dinner, and it was beautiful. I felt like I was having the biggest party of my life because I just was so grateful to be across the table from Savannah, and the women friends I love. It was amazing to me, where before I may have taken it for granted. Oh yeah, we're going to go have dinner and then go do some, go on with life. That dinner, the lunch, whatever time we had was, and we were social distancing, and we were outside, but we had a blast. We had a blast. I did. It was like, we all said that. It was like, wow, this was incredible. 6 months ago, it would have been average. So, it's like right now it was like, oh my God, incredible. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to look and see if there are any comments from the others over here. I don't know, Deb, if you've seen. Oh my goodness, there's so many. I don't want to miss questions. I've had people say, "Oh, I had a question for you, but I didn't see it." So I wanted to. Oh, there's Deborah Haviland. I don't know Deborah, but we've been texting, messaging each other, and she had her show today. Deborah, I hope your show went well. She started today at 3:00. And she's saying, aloha, thank God for the teachers in our lives, including each other. Yes. Thank you for joining the show. And Natalie Kircher, the purple suit. Oh, the purple suits me. Thank you. Actually, I bought this in Maui. Let's see. Kim is saying, lots of love. This is so wonderful. She's saying, Josie, I can totally relate to what you are saying, Josie, about being in constant prayer. I feel that, and I live and I walk in prayer. Yeah, a lot of us do. We don't recognize it as for what we're doing because that's just what we do. But we recognize it when we don't do it. I know I do. When I'm not in constant prayer, things go really sideways fast. I start watching the news. I have it on 3 different news channels so I can see the perspectives of everybody, which is insane. I mean, I just dive in. I go for the gusto, when I'm not doing the minute when I'm not like, I just dive in and I start watching the news. I put it on several channels I won't mention, but you're like, we're on a different planet. If you're watching different channels, it's like, are we in the same world? Because none of the stories are even the same. I don't do that much anymore because it's very stressful, but it is interesting when we do that. And I've been encouraging people on the show every week. Gabriel's been encouraging everybody to just lay off the news. If you're watching the news, cut back, because it's distressing, right? It is. And that's what the news is for. I mean, the news is supposed to be dramatic for ratings. And right now, you can't even make this stuff up. So they're really going for the gusto. How do you dramatize this even more? I mean, it's like, a slow news day, and they would make these stories, these little stories so big. So we're living big news days, and they're really big. It's easy for them to do their job and make it even more than it is, because that's their job. That's how they were trained. That's what they do. They share the news, but they also have to make it like exciting. Well, they don't really have to do a whole lot extra to scare us and to make it exciting, but they are, because that's their job. So keep that in mind. Just take it as that's their job, right? So get a little bit of news. If that's, we're all curious. Of course, we want to know what's happening. Somebody might text us and say, oh, did you hear? And we'll be like, oh my gosh, no. I better turn the news on and see what's going on. So, just do that, but then try to get regulated again. I call it like self-regulation. Then we can maybe remember the prayer, the meditation, the conscious connection, because when I'm watching the news, I'm nowhere near that unless I'm like, oh my God, but I'm not saying it in the same way as if I were praying, So, but it's still, he hears it. He hears when we say, oh my God. Okay. But just remember that when you're watching the news, just that, we are going through difficult times, and it is all, it's kind of what it's there. So I'm not saying it's not there for sure, but we can also take a respite from it for a while and focus on our families, focus on ourselves. Self-care is very important right now. And it might be the last thing we're thinking of, because for me, it's easier to stay busy when I'm nervous and have anxiety. I'm one of those that'll stay busy. People that know me know I have a little bit of a workaholic problem. So just a tad bit, but that's how I cope with my stuff. If I'm scared about something or nervous, I just like delve into right now. I just like signed on to this huge project because that's just what I do. That's just how I roll. They're like, well, Josie, are you sure you want to do this big project? I'm like, heck yeah, I'm ready. Let's do it. I just realized that right now as we're talking. I'm like, oh my goodness, I just signed on to this huge project. It's great. I'm ready. But anyways, let's pace ourselves. That's all I can say. I'm not one to talk about that, but I try. I do try to do that as much as I can. I see Wendy Jo. Hi, Wendy Jo. Thank you for joining. I know you were having a struggle this last week, but you're in our prayers always. And let's see. And Denise asked a question. So good. I'm glad I'm able to see, those who are here. SAF surgery. Let's see. My heart is okay. No, that was something else. All right. I'm going to let Debbie put the questions up. Otherwise, I'm going to repeat the questions and then I'll miss some. I started out with the crystal bowl because that's how I would start my prayer meditation, especially when I was calling in the angels sometimes, just to get myself grounded. So as you're thinking about the topic tonight, meditation, prayer, you might want to find something that soothes you, that's soothing to you, whether it's a crystal bowl, whether it's sound, music. If you play an instrument, bring out, I know that Renee plays her piano, and I play my crystal bowls when I want to feel that connection. And when I do that, I call in the angels, and it does help soothe me, and it kind of brings me to that place. So if you are having trouble getting to that place of connectedness, you might find something that you enjoy doing that can take you out of your distressful moment, something that's soothing to you and nurtures you, that feels nurturing. Find that, you know what it is. We all do. And if we don't, we can think about it, like, what nurtures me? What is soothing to me? And try to find that a little bit, even if it's in your memories and your thoughts, just to kind of get back into that beautiful place of groundedness. And then you can come to the place of prayer, and then the place of meditation, or like I was saying earlier, if you just joined us, there's prayer, that's talking to God. Meditation is listening. The conscious connection is being, right? That's being, that's living it, that's feeling it. So for many humans, there's no need for prayer, because that has a story of childhood, being on your knees all day, whatever it is. So maybe that doesn't work for you. But that doesn't mean you're not going to be connected to God and who you truly are, right? So find that way to connect to your higher self. And that's being in that conscious connection, the higher conscious connection. Albulita Chadwick. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Hi, everybody here for the first time. Welcome, Albulita. That's a beautiful name. That reminds me of Grandma. I don't know if I'm saying it correctly, but somehow when I said that, that's what I used to call my grandmother. She was my Albulita. So I don't know if I'm pronouncing it, but I hope I did, because that brought a great pleasure to my soul, is to say those words, your name. Thank you and welcome to our show. I hope you're enjoying it. Again, this is where we have conversations, open conversations. It's not typical where I have a script at all, because then I would just get nervous, and that's not really my goal, is to have a talk show. But I guess you could say that the goal for me with this show is to share messages from the divine, from Gabriel, who I've been getting messages for many years. And I have people that will ask questions. And so if you have a question, just please ask. That helps me to keep things going. And if not, I'll just keep, listening to what they want me to say. And it's always going to be divinely perfect. And each week we have a topic. This week's topic, prayer, meditation, and conscious connection, connectivity with all of who we are. And it's always drama to dharma. That's our show's name. I'm drama. Gabriel's the dharma. And then he says, basically what he says is that as humans, we can be in drama, and then we can go to dharma through our prayer meditation, and then easily we can go back and forth to drama and then back to dharma. That's just how it is. That's like we're connecting, and then we're being humans, which is all perfect. Because if we didn't have the contrast in our life, we wouldn't ask. Right now is definitely a time of contrast. So I think it was Renee, or no, it was Denise, who asked if right now during COVID, are people praying more because of the contrast? Again, the answer was yes, we are praying more, and we are seeking. So it's actually a good time for these types of messages and shows, and just to be open with each other. Know that your neighbors are also struggling and seeking. And if in the past you felt a little bit shy about talking about spirituality things, intuitively check in with yourself and with your neighbor. When I say neighbor, I mean each other, friends, and share with them something that's spiritual, and see what happens. Because it might be just, if it feels like it's ready to come out, a message from you, a divine message, go with it, share it. That's what Gabriel's telling me right now, is that when your prayer and meditation and all these things, you're going to be receiving these beautiful messages. And then you're going to doubt yourself and say, well, I never talked this way before. It's okay. You can do it now. Or maybe I only talked this way with my mom or my sister because I felt comfortable, and we would have these conversations. It's okay, he says, to intuitively, if somebody asks a question, or you feel that it's it's time, more than likely, it's going to be the perfect timing to talk about these things, whatever it is that's spiritual. Because as you're connecting with yourself and your higher self, you're going to be getting more of these divine messages, and it's perfectly beautiful to share that with each other. As a matter of fact, it helps with the flow, with the even flow of this planet. It's going to help each other because we're all searching for that, he's saying, in different ways. Even if it's in anger, somebody might be angry, but they're angry for a reason. They have trauma, something triggered them. They're, or they may have just been angry for a long time. So if you've been around somebody who's angry and you're sitting there and sharing words of kindness, they can only be angry for so long. I mean, so you can try it. And then they're going to be like, you're boring. You're boring. You don't bite, So you might just want to try, to continue to pay forward these beautiful messages, these spiritual messages. And you would not be, Gabriel always says, you would not even be on the show right now, listening and watching, if you weren't ready for these, to hear this. It's like a little nudge, like a nudge, like go for it, do it. Be your spiritual, beautiful self. Be your spiritual, beautiful self. We're not wearing makeup. I know I'm not. I do for the show because I just, so that's the only time lately I've been putting makeup on. Otherwise, I don't wear makeup. It's been great. So, we're all being ourselves right now. It's beautiful. And we have the masks on. Nobody knows. You can talk, it's the perfect time to share the light with each other. It's the perfect time to share the light with each other. Oh, let's see. Well, we've got a couple minutes. I usually try to do from 7 to 8. Sometimes we end a little bit sooner, because they're going to tell me exactly when to end. So if anybody has any questions or comments, we've got a few minutes. I'd love to hear it. And if not, I'm just going to go ahead and let's see. What does Gabriel say the Lord would like us to learn this week about our world and our connections to each other? Thank you, Carly. That's a beautiful question to prepare for this week until next Thursday at 7 when we have another show. What Gabriel's saying is this week is going to be another interesting week. Statistics from the COVID. It's not, it's going to be another week of the stress. We're not saying doom and gloom. But what he wants us to do is try to practice what we just discussed. So that way, in other words, things aren't going to change too much this week on the news because it's just not. So what he would encourage is that we turn off the news this week and try that. Turn off the news this week if you can. At least every other day, he's saying, because he knows it's, but if we can turn off the news this week and go within ourselves and with God, and have this connection through prayer, meditation, and test out this theory or this idea of this conscious connection with each other in the world and sharing the light. That would bring so much energetic, he's saying, just the most powerful vibration, elevation that we could do. So he's encouraging us to bring up, to take a thank you for this question, to a little challenge. Can we raise the vibration? Can we bring light to other people in our life that might not be feeling it? Because we're going to notice that people are tired and their bodies are going to start feeling it, the emotional tiredness of what's happening. So if we can plan and really, strengthen our spiritual muscles by praying and turning on, the candles and whatever it is that soothes you, and share that with each other, then we will feel better ourselves if we're connecting with our higher source in God. And we will also help our neighbors, help each other, because it's been several months now, and it's summertime, and we're getting restless as humans. We're getting tired. And as soon as we thought we were going to open, now we're, all that stuff. No, look for the light. Look for the things you can do outside. Encourage small businesses. When you walk into one, say, God, how could you do this outside? Come up with some ideas, because people are kind of stuck. how just things like that. If you're in a group of people online on Zoom, it's like, what can we do outside a little bit more, whatever it is, to share and bring up, rather than talking about all of the things that are on the news, talking about the illness that's happening right now, any of those things. Let's see if we can change that and flip it for this week and kind of focus back on what we, as humans, what we know we can focus on, and that's positive things, and bring that and share that with each other. And then you might say, it's so hard to do that I know, believe me, I know it's not. And I'm just saying from experience with what I'm going on with my husband and with my, everything, my friends being sick. And so I just really have to push myself to do that. And then once I do, it's easy. It's like, wow, I can actually do something fun, choose to do something fun. And then somebody's going to say, well, why are you choosing to do something fun? Don't you know we're in a pandemic? Well, I'm just going to find one little fun thing to do. And that's all. It's not, it's not necessarily a sin or against the law to have a little fun right now. Just a little. It's going to help our clarity. It helped me to have fun with my friends for a few hours, for a couple of days, just get away. I'm not encouraging people to leave their house and do all kinds of, no, but do something uplifting and fun this week, however you can find that. Thank you for that beautiful question. Oh, and Deborah's saying, so wonderful to hear you feeling connected. Yes, thank you for your deep listening and sharing with Archangel Gabriel. Much gratitude. Thank you so much for that. Gabriel loves you, and he is so happy. The angels are so happy when we do this. I just know, and I told that to Deborah when she's doing her show. I'm like, they are thrilled when and I'm not just speaking about me, but you also, when you're connected and sharing, they're just like ready. They're so ready for us to do this, to start enjoying life again, because that will raise the vibration. We all need it. So don't feel guilty about doing something fun. We used to do fun things all the time. Like I said, before, 6 months ago, dinner with friends, average. This week, it was amazing. So find something amazing to do this week. Even, it may be a little thing, but it's going to be a big thing. Believe me, it's going to be a big thing. So I encourage you to have fun. Gabriel wants, the angels are fun. They're joy. It's a high vibration in their realm. So enjoy yourself. And it's not discarding anything that's happening, but this is for our own self-care, and so that we can share this with each other, the light and the upliftment. And we'll just change the subject. If it gets negative, we can hear it for a minute, but then try to change it to something that's a little bit more enlightening and enlightenment. And that's true enlightenment, when we can bring light. And again, find your nurture, find your instrument, find your music station. If it's dancing to the oldies, which now are 80s music, oldies. It's like, and my mom say it was 50s music, now dancing to the oldies, according to my kids, is 80s music or 70s. So find that fun music and dance by yourself, and have a blessed week. And thank you for joining us tonight. And until next week, Drama to Dharma, next Thursday at 7 o'clock. I'll see you then. And thank you all for joining. Many blessings.